right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm super excited to be talking to you today about social media for your shops. I am Lindsay Elam, the social media specialist here at Auto Vitals. So today I'll be covering, the latest social media changes, why it's essential for your business to be consistent with your online presence, also how to keep learning and adapting with confidence, and some different tools and resources that can help boost your shop's visibility and strengthen customer loyalty. All right. So to begin, it's important to first kind of go over the foundation of how social media works today. So way back a while ago, it kind of started out as a way to connect with friends. And then we kind of saw it transition to being able to see posts from people that you followed and updates from businesses that you liked. And then it is no surprise that over time, we began seeing a lot of promotional content that took the center stage. And today, that's not really any different. We see a lot of that promotional content, but now platforms are really focusing heavily on discovery, entertainment, and keeping people engaged with what interests them most and not just who they follow. So, in short, the number of followers no longer dictates how many people will see your content. So, the human brain is wired to respond to quick rewards, right? Motion grabs attention. When emotions are triggered, that's when connection happens. Short form videos tap into all three of those and have a way to deliver it with entertainment. So, whether it's a laugh, a quick tip, or a behind the scenes moment, that short form content grabs your attention fast and keeps you engaged with it. So attention spans are shrinking, and so the demand for quick entertainment content is rising, and that's why we see platforms that are prioritizing these types of videos. I think most of us can relate to a time where we got onto social media, right? And we started looking at videos or content, and we scroll through it. And the next thing you know, you look at the time and 30 minutes have gone by. It's really easy. And that is why videos have kind of took the forefront in terms of content. So the other piece I really want to kind of discuss with you, and whether we like it or not, AI is now an integral part of our online presence, and that's especially true when it comes to social media. So the algorithm is actually in most platforms ran by AI, and it's determining what is going to be shown to you. And then you also see it when it comes to captions and posts, as well as images and videos that are created by AI. It's really coming from a place of creativity, and it's something that, is not necessarily something you should be fearing, but something that you can really use intentionally for your business. So many of you may have the question of, does social media really matter to my shop? I have customers that come in and they don't say, hey, I found you on Facebook and I thought I'd give you a try for service. And so I think it's kind of important to take ourselves out of that mindset of, a business and having people come in and say that, but think of yourself in that situation. If you're going to a new business and then you're going to check out or do something and you don't say, hey, I found you on Facebook and thought I'd give you a try. That's just not typically how we speak. And so it's not going to be super common for them to come into your shop and be like, hey, I found you on Facebook. But whether you use social media or not, your customers are on social media. Oftentimes they're checking it at least once a day, and more often than not, multiple times a day. And so if your shop isn't there, you're losing out on, the valuable visibility and also opportunities to connect with customers. And so today, customers often search online, and it's just not one area. So they may search on Google, they're going to search on social media. There's multiple outlets and platforms that they're going to look up your business before they schedule that service appointment. So when you think of social media, you typically think of, the posts on the platform itself, like Instagram or Facebook. but really your social media presence and your posts and content show up outside of those platforms. Often when you do a Google search for a business, you will see, the website, the reviews, but then you'll also see their, Facebook profile or their Instagram profile. So you show up in a lot more ways outside of those platforms itself. And so that's super important because that is your opportunity to make that first impression and start building that credibility and that trust with your customers. It's keeping you top of mind. So also, I like to kind of bring up these real life examples of and how we can relate to social media outside of just how we use it as a business owner. And so, think of a time where you maybe wanted to try out a new restaurant, right? And so you look them up online, see what's new in your area, and then you find one, and then you're like, okay, well, I want to know more about this. Like, what does their food look like? Is the inside of the restaurant clean? And so you immediately go to searching more. And oftentimes, where are you going to find pictures? You're going to find them on social media. So you start looking on social media. Well, if you get there and that restaurant isn't posting anything, in your mind, you're going to start building some doubt around that. It's like, is it really worth my time? Should I really try them out? Should I trust them? And more often times than not, you're going to search out a different restaurant that may be new. And if they have those photos and have a presence, you're more likely to choose that place that is showing up. That makes you feel a little more confident in your decision making. Um, and then I think it's also important, to kind of talk about word of mouth is just not from friends and neighbors anymore. Word of mouth comes from your online presence. What are other customers and followers saying about you online? What's in your comments, reactions on your post, things like that. It really shapes how others perceive your business. And then, organic social media may not lead to instant, scheduling of a service appointment, but its ROI really lives in long-term visibility. It is building that trust, that top of a mind awareness. Every post you share keeps you in front of your current and potential customers, even if they might not need service in the moment. If you're showing up consistently, that becomes familiar to them. And so when they do need repairs or maintenance, they think of you. That post or that review that you had comes to their mind, and they're going to begin looking you up even more before they even set foot in your door. So it serves a whole lot of different purposes for your shop. Looking at social media and even just getting started with the basics, your social media profiles are super important, and you can optimize them to work really well for your business. So, it can help increase visibility and credibility. It can drive more website traffic. It can improve your customer engagement and loyalty, and you have the ability to stand out among competition. So kind of going through some of the things that your social media profile may include are your profile picture. Using a very clear, nice logo or image that represents your shop. A few different social media platforms offer the opportunity to have a cover photo, use an image or a graphic that really kind of showcases your brand's personality and location. And then bio, kind of think of that as your shop's handshake, your first impression, or that elevator pitch. You really want to make that one count. You want to grab their attention, make sure it includes your business name, description. You can use a couple keywords in there, and that's important. And then in the About Us section, that's your opportunity to kind of go on and give a little more information about your shop. Again, you'll want to include your shop's name and some keywords in that as well. As far as your contact information, you make sure that's up to date. You want to make sure that you use a local phone number, because that helps show, the algorithm that, hey, the shop is legit, you're a local business. And make sure your business hours are current and up to date. And then when it comes to your branding, make sure that is being consistent across all different platforms, social media platforms. And then there's a unique opportunity, especially with Facebook, is if anybody interacts with your profile or your content, it will actually tell you who that is, and it provides an opportunity for you to click. It's real simple. Click a button that invites them to follow or like your business page, which is a nice way to kind of build that audience. Again, each social media platform includes different types of opportunities and pieces for you to show and others to learn about your business. So just make sure that that core concept of it's complete and it's consistent across all platforms. All right. So moving on. So we all hear about, going viral on social media, getting more and more followers, and you want everybody to see your content. But does that really work for your shop? It's really hard to break that old mindset of, oh, if I can just I have so many followers and that's awesome. My content's getting seen, it's working. And like I want to go viral because then everybody sees my stuff. But then we have to kind of bring it back to what is our goal? People aren't going to drive 2 states to come see you and get their car serviced at your shop. So keeping that goal in mind that you're local, you want to be able to connect and be seen with those in your community that are actually going to bring their car into your shop. And so, going back to the algorithm of it being interest driven and about discovery, how do you make that work for a local business and a local audience? There's different techniques that you can use. Some include geotags in your post, location hashtags. You can use local keywords, and even bringing up local conversations in your post. Those are all really great options to help you be seen locally. And then I think for your shop on social media, it's always important to keep your followers in mind. Those that are following your social media pages, it's always great to make sure that your content resonates with them, but we can't forget about how awesome discovery and how powerful it can be to reach those new customers in your area that maybe haven't been into your shop or haven't necessarily heard about your shop. It helps you grow your audience. And so really keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to try out trending topics, hashtags, do challenges. Those are great ways to increase your visibility and kind of reach that broader audience. And also with the whole interest in discovery, when you do things like that, it is going to trigger the algorithm. And so that way they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this stuff is worthy of being shared to even bigger audience, and it's going to be shown multiple times. So you're really kind of playing into how social media is working today. So your social media presence is really a powerful tool for you to be able to connect with potential customers in your area, as well as your followers. So sharing content that resonates with your local community is probably one of the key pieces to keep in mind when it comes to your social media platforms. Even 50 local views are going to be much more valuable to your shop than 50,000 national ones. It's really about quality over quantity. All right. So as a local shop, you have this unique advantage. So some may think, well, it's really hard to get the people in my neighborhood or the people here to see my content, but you can actually use it as your advantage. So you can leverage your local connections and you can highlight your community in your social media. So oftentimes, and you as a person that lives in a community itself, neighbors really appreciate the feel of a community. They like supporting small businesses. And so showcasing your dedication and connection to the community and your business can foster that deep appreciation within your community and among your local audience. Some ideas to kind of play around with when it comes to your local community are sharing and highlighting local events. So whether it's like the local sports team, maybe you have multiple different schools there, but kind of showcasing some of the things they got going on. You can tag and support other local businesses. We know how hard it is for a local business to really thrive. And so sometimes it's just that nice little plug that you put in there on social media to kind of scratch each other's back and give some attention and awareness to each other's businesses. You can use those location specific hashtags to all help you be seen in your community. A few other ideas, supporting local drives. So if you do, like a canned food drive for the local pantry, or maybe it's collecting toys for during the holidays, you can sponsor local charity events, participate in like local cleanup days. All of those things really kind of strike those values and passions that your community shares, and it's really important to them. So they're going to see the value and appreciation within your shop as being a part of the same things they value. Um, maybe you're out in the community, right? There's a local event, a fair, or some kind of event going on that you attend, and don't forget to snap photos during those moments, right? Those are great times to capture what's going on locally and post that to your page. People connect with that, they see that, they can relate to that from your local audience. So those are really great. Maybe you guys order in food from a local business, snap those photos of you guys chowing down on some great food and give that other business a good shout out. And so those are all things that do really, really great when it comes to a local business being on social media. All righty. So how do you maintain visibility in between visits? Not everybody needs, repairs or maintenance done every day. So how do you as a shop show up to your audience and local community while they're not needing service? This is a very important piece to stay visible and to build that loyalty with them in between. So that way you can have that repeat business and that you can stay top of mind. So when something does happen, they're like, oh yeah, I saw that. I really like that. I'm going to go back there because everything went really well. And I like what their shop is all about. So even though it can be hard, in order to succeed in today's social media, you really have to kind of break free from that typical business mindset and be able to connect with customers on a more personal level. So, I know bringing more business in is always the goal, but when it comes to social media, meaningful content is going to always outperform promotional messaging. So ideas for you to post on things like this are share relatable lifestyle focused posts, like how do people use their cars on the day to day, school drop off, if you're traveling and dropping kids off at sport events and practices, if you're doing weekend road trips, or share about commuting frustrations. Another great opportunity is for you to share your shop story. You worked really hard to establish this wonderful thing. You have this great environment. Share that story with your customers. Let them see you for who you are, and humanize that piece to be able to connect with them and show them that you really do care about your customers and your community. Um, Social media is also a great way for you to educate customers. Share what warning signs are for certain things that go wrong on their vehicles and what they should do about it in those moments. Help teach them how they can check their oil or fluids and filters, or their air in their tires. Those things, some people may know how to do it, but at the end of the day, it's really cool to see you teach them how they can do these things at home. And a lot of the times, if you think about social media or you search something in Google, you're like, how do you do this? You typically see a lot of times like YouTube videos or things like that pop up. So it's a unique opportunity that you guys can really take advantage of for your shops. And then I think, along with that is make sure you're using the language that they would use. I think we can all probably reference a time where something was outside our area of expertise and we're like, what does that mean? So just remember, talking to them in a way that they can resonate with, that helps make you be seen as approachable, does great. And then remember not to be so serious all the time. You know, oftentimes people use social media as a means of distraction. So we like to be entertained. You can add little bits of fun to, you know, your educational pieces or sharing about your shop or something going on at your shop. Um, it's a great way for you to stand out kind of among the competition. And always remember that social media is evolving. Customers' expectations and needs always change. So really, when it comes to social media, it's important to be open to testing new formats and new trends and creative ideas. Um, all righty. So another common term you probably heard a lot is engagement. So what does it really mean when it comes to social media? Oftentimes we think of engagement as metrics like shares and comments and likes, but true engagement encompasses a broader spectrum of interactions. Views are actually considered to be engagement. So think of those short form videos, right? If they are watching the video, they may not like it, but they are still interacting with your content. So it's important not to be kind of caught up in those technical aspects of those metrics of, well, I'm not getting any likes and shares, doesn't really mean that you're not getting engagement from your social media content. Think about how you use it in the day to day. That conversation of what they see, maybe it's in conversation with a friend or family, and you're like, oh my gosh, I saw this hilarious video, or you know, someone's like, I wish they need service, right? I wish I knew somebody. Do you know somebody that can, you know, that you trust or that's worth trying out for auto repair? Those conversations happen outside of the social media platform. So even that one piece of content may encourage additional conversations and engagement outside of that. So those are super important to keep in mind. And remember, just the way we operate on social media now, it is a scroll and consume culture, right? You're taking in all of this information and going through it. It's not necessarily like, oh, I liked that, I'm going to comment, good job, or give it a like. It's kind of just a, oh, that was interesting. And you just kind of move on to the next. So keeping that in mind is super important as well. And then also when it comes to link performance, right? When you add your website link into a organic social media post, it's important to keep in mind a good mix of adding in your links in there are going to probably perform better than always having that link in there. Most platforms want you to stay on that platform. So if they are aware that when they see that link, they're like, oh, I don't want them leaving our platform. So we're going to show that to less people. So it's something to keep in mind as you decide to post. And moving on to a little bit more in depth of what does social media success look like and how do you track it? So it's social media is a really powerful tool for your business, but its goals often extend far beyond just people who walk through your doors from service. You have to think about the brand awareness, the community engagement to fostering customer loyalty and driving website traffic. It has many, many different interconnected objectives. So understanding these is important to how you post and see success on your social media. So one of the ways beyond the likes, reactions, shares, engagement, and the measurable data, it's again that word of mouth conversation, those offline behaviors that they're doing. It is they see something, maybe that triggers them to look into you even more. And so that's always important to keep in mind when you're looking at your data, you have your data, how to interpret that data, but then also to know that the qualitative impact, you know, if somebody sees something, they're sharing it with others. I think we all probably know somebody who loves to send you like funny reels or different pieces of content. And then, you know, you may look at them, but maybe you're not that person that sends out reels and all that to other people, but you will ask them about it in a conversation totally outside of it. So again, it's just you're building that familiarity with your audience. You're staying top of mind. All of those things are really, really important to have and keep in mind when you're posting on social media. Again, kind of when we step outside of our professional role and think about how we personally use the internet, we search for reviews, we check hours, we look at photos, we're reading posts. It really becomes clear that your business needs a comprehensive online presence. Even if somebody has driven by your shop a dozen of different times, I guarantee you that they're probably going to look you up online before they even step foot into your shop. So things from like your business listings on Google, your website, your social media presence and posts, how you handle and respond to reviews. Customers are going to do a thorough research of your shop before coming or before even making that phone call to schedule an appointment or even scheduling the appointment online. So when discussing the importance of your shop's online presence, I wanted to bring to attention the power of responding to reviews. So potential customers are going to read your reviews, and it's not just about the rating. It's not necessarily just about what other customers are saying about your shop, but it also is about how you are responding to reviews. Are you professional? Are you attentive? Do they feel like you really care about your customer? They start to build trust in you when they start looking at these things and seeing that. It's important that you remain professional in your review responses, and you really provide a good first impression, and then that helps build on your local reputation. And so also kind of a side piece with that is Google definitely favors businesses that respond to reviews. So keep that in mind. When somebody searches for your business, they are going to often show a business that has responded to reviews. You can really help boost your local search ranking and make it easier for people nearby to find you. And then of course the dreaded negative reviews. Nobody likes getting them, but how you respond is really what makes the difference. A respectful solution, focused reply can really turn one of those negative reviews into a more positive opportunity that really highlights your values and professionalism. So again, customers really pay more attention to your response versus the negative review that comes up on that. So some tips on how to respond to reviews. Especially when it comes to those negative reviews, it hurts. You guys are, you know, it's personal. You've worked very hard to establish your business and make it what it is and build that reputation. So step away for a second, take a breath. If you have somebody to kind of talk to, talk this out with, that's great. And then, come back. Don't let their tone or their harsh words kind of dictate how you respond. Stay calm with that and really give a good response with that review. And then remember, when it comes to those negative reviews, sometimes we get caught up in I'm not going to give this guy the time of day. This is so frustrating. I'm upset. Switch your mindset to be more along the lines of, all right, this isn't necessarily for this person that left the review. It is for potential customers or existing customers to look at how I handled the situation. They're going to see, oh yeah, we're not, like, they know we're human, mistakes happen. And so it's how you go about that. If you're willing to listen and empathize with what that upset customer is saying, and then show that you're willing to have a further discussion with them, that really shows that you care about your customers. It shows where your values are. That is going to mean so much more to those future customers when they're trying to figure out if they are going to trust you and bring their vehicle in. Awesome. Moving on. And so, kind of in a general wrap up here, remember that consistency wins when it comes to social media and your online presence. You don't need to post every single day, you don't have to go viral. Just show up regularly with your content that reflects who you are and what you have to offer. Whether it's a helpful post, a kind reply, or a well handled review, every single interaction is a chance for you to earn a customer's trust. Um, Trends come and go, but your commitment to quality service and community connection will always be the foundation of your business. Keep keep learning and adapting new tools, features, platforms. They will all continue to evolve. So make sure you stay curious and open to experimenting with what works for your shop. And you don't have to do it alone. Tap into your resources, whether it's your team members, whether it's, an outside company partner to help you manage the, posting on social media or responding to reviews. Awesome. So we have some time here where we can take a few questions. Awesome. Okay, so what types of posts are most effective? That is a fantastic question. So, I think with social media, you always have to kind of keep in mind what the algorithm is. And so, right now we talked about how short form videos are being prioritized. So, you may know them as reels. They are favored by the algorithm. It gives you an opportunity to kind of go beyond who is following your social media pages. And there's actually on a lot of platforms a dedicated feed to just those videos, so they continually have the opportunity to be seen. However, it's also still kind of important to mix in a few of those traditional posts so that way it still comes up in your followers feeds and things like that. So it's kind of a mix. Along with that, I think it's important to highlight thinking about the time of day that you decide to post. Are you trying to catch them on their lunch break, or maybe it's after dinner? That's great to keep in mind as well. So make sure you think about that in addition to the types of content that you're posting. Um, awesome. Let's see. Let's see what else we have here for another question. Awesome. So I think I answered the time of day. And I want to put that in there too, that if you have scheduling platforms, a lot of times some of the platforms like Facebook and that offer a time that is most ideal. So they'll usually give you kind of hints about what's working for your specific page. When responding to Google reviews, is it okay to use suggested responses? Yeah, I think it's okay. I think, sometimes, it's always great to read through what that suggested response says, maybe add in, their name, make it a little more personalized. And authentic. I know a lot of, there's some AI that helps kind of generate a review response, and sometimes those tend to be very similar. So kind of mixing it up every now and then is great, or resonate to a small little piece that they include in the review helps kind of personalize it and give that extra touch that you may want when it comes to reviews. Let's see. Um, Are there any other platforms you suggest posting on besides Google, Facebook, or Instagram? I think that's yes, there are other platforms you can post on. I think when it comes down to it, if there was one, I probably would choose it. Probably would be YouTube, just because it often shows up in search results. Again, a lot of people go to it for information and things like that. It has a very wide audience that you can kind of take advantage of there as well. Let's see. What about how frequent should you post on social media? That's a good question. that's kind of an up to you decision. So one thing to be cautious of is if you do multiple posts a day, you're going to start to probably do more of have more of a negative impact, because then it's like, okay, you're covering up all the content, right? So you keep putting one on top of the other, and sometimes it'll just push it down in the feed, or certain things won't be seen as often. So kind of finding that good balance. Again, it's kind of looking into, your data from how your content is performing, taking notes and being able to look at the full picture there and what really makes sense for your customers and for what your shop can handle in terms of posting on social media. Let's see. I think, are Instagram Reels as effective as TikTok? We have security concern. That's a great question. Yeah, I absolutely 1000%. I think Reels are just as effective on Instagram as they are on TikTok. Um, from my experience with posting on Instagram's probably the next one, like the next one on there for Reels. I've seen high reach, I've seen great engagement. I know the uncertainty when it comes to TikTok, so there's no worries there. But yeah, Instagram, if you're going to look for one that's safe and that still gets great results when it comes to Reels, definitely give Instagram a try. Are there any other questions? Branding your business. What's the best way to achieve branding your business? Definitely. So making sure, first comes the profiles, making sure that logos are similar. Your basic information is consistent and the same across all of them. With social media now, a lot of times, I should say, the old way used to be like, right, like you want to stick to everything the same. It should be the same branding colors, the same logo, the same layout, the same concept over and over again. But I think more and more now, taking that risk of being more creative is definitely paying off. So as long as those values, the information, those things stay consistent and showcase in your post, you still have the ability to have some fun and be creative, because really you can stick to this concept of certain things for your brand, but if it's not getting seen, if it's not performing well, then that's a lot of time dedicated to that, whereas you could have a much bigger effect if you kind of played around with it a little more and got a little more creative. How do you get more followers? Uh, Hands down, Facebook. When I had mentioned anybody who interacts with your content, you can go invite them to follow, right? Another great way is to incorporate that as a piece of your auto repair shop, right? Have a QR code sitting out at the desk, and have that conversation with your customers when they come in, like, hey, are you following us on social media? Like, hey, scan this and give us a follow. There's lots of different opportunities that you can take to get others to follow. Even when it comes to your customers, say you throw out a special every now and then, like, hey, we only post our specials on Facebook. Make sure you hop in there to catch those and follow us, so that way you can see those and take advantage of those. It's not just what you can do on the platform. It's kind of much bigger than that. Have your employees follow and like your business page. Encourage them to share your posts and content. It's really getting everyone involved and kind of building it out to what you really want it to be for your shop. Any other questions? Those are all really great questions. All righty. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. I know that's a lot, but I hope it sparked some excitement within you and kind of gave you some fresh new ideas on how you can really, enhance your social media and, at your shop. And so if you do have any questions, I want you to feel free to reach out to us at any time. We'd be happy to help you guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me today.